This is the inaugural lecture by His Holiness Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, delivered at Guildhall, Cambridge, on the 7th of November, 1960.
It's a pleasure for me to be here this evening in the company of all of you in this great seat of learning. What is needed today is a technique to harmonize the qualities of the head with those of the heart. The head alone going ahead, leaving the heart behind, man is found tumbling down. This is what is happening today in the world. All advancements in the field of science and technology and all study of the various subjects in the world leading the man to what? Increasing state of tension and chaos in the world. Tensions increasing in the individual life, in the social life, national, international life. Everywhere tensions seem to be increasing. Something is needed which would react in a way as to give rise to greater harmony, greater peace, greater happiness, greater real lasting wisdom of life. Otherwise, all this which we call wisdom today, all these increasing subjects, increasing learning, fails to satisfy the need of man, fails to satisfy the real thirst of happiness, real thirst of wisdom, which is the natural and legitimate thirst for man, of man. I come out from the Himalayas with such a formula which would regenerate the head and heart of man into the qualities of higher nature, the intellect higher, emotions higher. And that I call meditation, a technique to dive within ourselves, explore the inner regions of life, explore the inner space, and get to the essence of life, the source of all wisdom, the source of all creativity, the source of permanent peace and happiness, to explore the kingdom of heaven within. The meditation that is being offered by the spiritual regeneration movement is just a technique to look within and explore the inner latent faculties, bring them out and use them with all advantage in daily life. This meditation is a simple process of fathoming the deeper levels of consciousness, eventually getting to the transcendental being, the state of pure absolute consciousness. And having gone to that field of the being, which is blissful in nature, mind becomes contented, becomes full with wisdom, becomes full with creativity, because that is the source of all creation, the transcendental divine nature in man, that is fathomed through this meditation. The word meditation is not new. The gains from meditation are not new to be counted, but the information that it is easy for everyone to meditate and experience the inner glories of life, this seems to be a new message, although the message is centuries old message. The same age-old message of Buddha, the same age-old message of Christ, the same age-old message of Krishna. Get within, experience the kingdom of heaven, experience Nibbana, experience eternal freedom. Come out with that freedom, live a life of freedom in the world. The same age-old message. Only for the past centuries, it had been forgotten, as if forgotten. the technique forgotten. And that's why the life, the individual life seems to be suffering, seems to be increasingly suffering. So much so that centers which were responsible to lead the people to the kingdom of heaven within began to propound the theories of suffering, began to emphasize suffering is needed, suffering is necessary. All virtues of suffering began to be sung in the atmosphere. Life began to be talked in terms of struggle. Essentially, life is bliss. Man is born of bliss, of wisdom, of creativity, of immense eternal peace, and not of ignorance and suffering. No. There is no reason for man to suffer. I don't find any reason for man to suffer. As nobody can account any reason for a fish to be thirsty in a pond full of water. If a fish is found to be thirsty in a pond full of water, firstly, it seems to be unbelievable that the fish could be thirsty in a pond full of water. And if some fish is found to be that, you would only say probably it chooses to be thirsty. Matter of choice. Otherwise, just open the mouth and the water is in. In the bliss, in the omnipresent bliss, there doesn't seem to be any reason for man to suffer in life in any way whatsoever. If a man is found to be suffering, it seems to be unbelievable. How could a man, the son of the Almighty, Merciful Father, how could he be unhappy and miserable, suffering in life? No reason for man to suffer in any way. If a man is found suffering, it is only due to not enjoying the realities of life, not enjoying the glories of life. If the son of a millionaire is found poor and in torn clothes, it's only because he is not using the wealth that is due to him. What else could be the reason? No other. So when we do not use the glories in store for us, we are found devoid of glories, and it is natural. Tremendous amount of potential that is hidden in the heart of everyone. Only it is necessary to begin to use it. This meditation is a process to begin to use it right away. It doesn't need much of doing. It only needs beginning to enjoy. It may sound to be very, very astounding. In the atmosphere of growing tensions in life, a message comes, you begin to enjoy, and how? The how of it is much simpler. The meditation that is being offered by the spiritual regeneration movement is just based on the natural tendency of human mind to go to a field of greater happiness. From a field of lesser happiness to a field of greater happiness, the mind naturally goes, and that is everybody's experience. Inside is the kingdom of heaven, very great happiness. Outside is the kingdom of earth. Happiness is found in the outside world, but of a very transitory nature, a very small quantity. Nothing in the outside experience is able to satisfy the thirst of happiness of the mind. That's why the mind is found wandering. Outside is the joy of the drops of water, inside is the joy of the ocean of water. Mind would naturally go inside because mind wants greater happiness. Mind wants greater wisdom. Mind wants greater creativity. In the inner core of one's personality is that ocean of happiness, ocean of wisdom, ocean of creativity, ocean of peace, all in the field of the absolute being. Outside, only the drops of it. That's why it is easy for the mind to turn inwards and go in. Only a matter of turning the mind inwards and beginning to enjoy the inner glories of life. It doesn't amount to be anything more than mere turning, just right about turn. Outside we are experiencing through the senses, through the eyes, through the ears, all gross experience in life. Let the mind turn inside and have the subtle experiences. Very naturally the mind will go inwards, because towards the ocean of happiness mind will run only instantaneously. If a radio is singing here and a better melody comes from a different source, instantaneously the mind begins to enjoy. It doesn't need to train the mind to enjoy greater glory, better melody. Mind gets on to that, non-stop, jet flight as if, just quit. Like that the mind turned inwards, goes to fathom the kingdom of heaven in a very natural way. Only a matter of turning inwards and beginning to enjoy. This meditation is only based on this principle, that the mind has a natural tendency to go to a field of greater happiness. What I teach is just how to turn inwards, that's all. Having turned inwards, the mind would go to fathom the inner, the greatest happiness in a natural way. We are not required to thrust and push the mind, no. I refute the philosophy that the mind need be trained and long time be taken to train, and strenuous practices are needed to train the mind, because mind is wandering. Mind is wandering, we experience, mind is wandering, but what is the reason of mind wandering? Wandering is not the nature of the mind. To remain settled down somewhere in bliss is the nature of the mind. It's wrong to think that mind is a monkey and then it has to be controlled and trained long time before it could settle down. No. The bee becomes restless flying all the time, becomes restless only in the absence of a flower having honey in it. Wandering, flying all the time, remaining flying is not the nature of the bee. Bee is in search of the honey, and let it find a flower which holds the honey, immediately it sits on to that and immediately takes it out. Mind wants to enjoy, mind wants to know, mind wants to be, mind wants to create. If there could be a field profuse in creativity, profuse in happiness, profuse in peace, profuse in wisdom, fine, that is it which the mind is searching for. And that is the absolute status of one's personality. Absolute status. Nothing in the field of relativity will forever satisfy the mind, no. There will always be an aspiration for more and more, an aspiration for more and more. It's the legitimate desire for man to enjoy more, to know more, the desire to be more, to create more. It's a legitimate desire of man. The man is suffering, the man is miserable, not due to this desire of aspiring for more, but due to the inability to fulfill this desire. See the difference in the ideology? It's not the desire that is at fault. It's not the desire that makes a man miserable and suffer. It is the inability to fulfill the desire that makes a man suffer. If there could be a way to get out of this inability, if there could be a way to fulfill the desire for great wisdom, if there could be a way to fulfill the desire of great happiness, if there could be a way to fulfill the desire of creating more, man would be found eternally contented. All this discontentment, all this suffering is only due to the inability to fulfill the desire. And then again, nothing in the field of relativity would permanently satisfy the man. Because in the field of relativity, there will always be a chance for more. Be it in the field of wisdom, knowledge, peace and happiness, any field. But in the field of relativity, there will be an aspiration for more and more and more and more. Even the highest wisdom in the field of relativity, and greatest happiness and greatest peace and greatest creativity in the field of relative order will not be able to satisfy the mind, because even that greatest happiness will not be lasting as long as it is in the field of relativity. Bound by time and space, it may be of the greatest degree of happiness, but it won't be eternal, it won't be lasting. Having got to that greatest happiness, mind would aspire to have it for all times, but that is not going to last because it is in the field of relativity. Everything has to vanish. Therefore, only contacting the field of the absolute, which lies beyond the greatest in the field of relativity, contacting this field in the field of knowledge, in the field of happiness, in the field of peace, in the field of creativity, this absolute field of life, unless this is stabbed, unless the mind becomes familiar with the absolute being, not going to be satisfied in anything whatsoever. This meditation readily leads the mind to the field of the absolute being because its nature is blissful, because mind is always wanting greater happiness. Therefore, the field of eternal bliss naturally attracts the mind. Only the mind has to be brought in line with that direction, that's all. To fathom that absolute being, to dive into that absolute field of life, we have to take our attention from the relative field of life to the source of life, to the source of creativity, to the source of objectivity. As it is our stand in the material field, in the gross material field of creation. We experience form through the eyes, sound through the ears, smell through the nose. Our nose is able to smell only a certain degree of smell. When the smell becomes much subtler, the nose fails to smell it. In a sugar particle, we don't smell anything, but the ant feels the smell from a distance. Our nose is not able to experience that subtle degree of smell which other animals are able to smell. That shows the smell is there, but we fail to smell. Likewise, the form is there, but very minute forms we need microscope to see. Our eyes fail to see. The sound is there, but our ears fail to hear. We need a radio to catch the waves. The sound is there, but our ears cannot hear. And that shows all this machinery of our experience, all these senses are capable of giving experience to the gross creation only. Subtle fields of creation, our senses are not able to experience. This shows all the time we are stuck up in the experience of the gross relative order. The creation, subtler creation in the field of relativity is out of our experience. So what we have to do to get to the absolute status of life, we have to start from our present stand of experience, present level of experience, and begin to experience the subtler phases of either sound or form or smell or taste or touch, any. Only we have to experience the subtler fields of creation till we are able to experience the subtlest creation and transcend it to get to the field of the absolute. That would mean experiencing the whole field of subtle creation and transcending the subtlest creation to get to this absolute being. This meditation is a way to lead our attention directly on these lines and get to the taste of the absolute being, bliss consciousness. Experience shows, as the mind begins to experience the subtler phases of the object, be it the object of sight or object of hearing, any object, be it any sound, supposing. As the mind begins to experience the subtler phases of sound, when it reaches the levels below mental thinking, below the conscious mind, as it enters the subconscious mind, the experience of that sound in the subtle phases begins to be more and more charming. The charm seems to be increasing. The attraction seems to be increasing. And on these steps of increasing charm and increasing attraction, the mind is drawn in that way, naturally, till it transcends the subtlest level of sound and gets to the source of sound, the source of thought, the source of creation. Very direct way to that field of the absolute. And having gone out of the field of relativity, having transcended the subtlest state of medium of meditation, we get to that state which is absolute. The individual mind then becomes cosmic mind. It gains that status of cosmic existence, and that is a state beyond relativity, which knows no bondage of time and space. That is that which Buddha said, Nibbana, blessed eternal freedom. That is that which Christ said in terms of bliss, heavenly bliss, kingdom of heaven is within me. That is that which Krishna and the Gita and Upanishads call Atmananda, Ananda, bliss, consciousness, bliss of the absolute. That is within the reach of everyone through this easy, simple practice of deep meditation. Simple it is because it is based on the natural tendency of the mind to go deep. Naturally the mind goes deep. This meditation is not a way to train the mind, it's not a way to control the mind, it's a way to satisfy the mind, to lead the mind to satisfaction. The mind gets to that state which is the source of all branches of learning. All aspirations in the field of knowledge will be satisfied. It is that state which is the source of all relative happiness. All aspirations to enjoy more in life will be satisfied. It's this field from which the whole creation comes out, the greatest field of creativity. Having gone to that, any aspiration in the field of creativity will be satisfied. Mind gets satisfaction. Not only satisfaction of a nature which would make life static, but tapping the source of all energy, source of all power. Mind becomes powerful at the same time. So peace increases at the same time, the ability, the potentiality of activity increases, wisdom increases, happiness increases. Personality as a whole becomes more and more evolved. Consciousness. This is what we mean by developing higher consciousness. In this respect, I may go in a little more detail. What we mean by development of consciousness, as it is, every experience of ours, we see a flower. It leaves an impression in the mind. The impression overtakes the full mind to such a degree that the experiencer seems to become oblivious of its own nature. Only the nature of the flower remains. We see the mic, only the mic remains, and the I becomes absent. The nature of the I is not found. The seer becomes almost annihilated. Only the object remains. The subject becomes completely oblivious of its own nature. This is how we are experiencing things in the world. Every experience overshadows the status of the subject, and the object, the status of the object becomes predominant. The matter remains in predominance, the values of the spirit as if completely annihilated. Such a life is said to be a life in bondage. Every experience binds us. Every activity binds us. As long as every experience binds us, every object binds us, this is a life in bondage. What would be life in freedom? The object is experienced, but it is not allowed to overshadow the value of the subject. The subject also shines in its full glory. The object is also appreciated 100%, and that will be a life in freedom. Full values of the objective world, without overshadowing any value of the subjectivity. This will be a life in freedom. And how could this be gained? Just through this meditation. What does meditation do? When we begin to meditate, we begin to activate those hitherto silent levels of our ability of experience which have not been used so far, thereby making the conscious mind more sharp, entering into the deeper levels of consciousness, activating hitherto silent levels of consciousness, thereby developing all the latent faculties of the mind. When we dive within, when all the silent levels of water are stirred, as a result of this stir in the deeper levels of water, the surface activity of the waves are found to be more powerful. So when we take a dive into the deeper levels of consciousness, by positively experiencing subtle levels of thoughts, all the hitherto silent levels of consciousness, all that in terms of modern psychology, all the subconscious mind and unconscious mind becomes activated. As a result of this activity in the inner conscious levels of the mind, the surface mind becomes more powerful, the waves on the surface become more powerful, the conscious mind becomes more powerful. The whole field of the mind becomes a conscious mind, nothing remains subconscious or unconscious. This is how the individual mind is made powerful to become cosmic mind. A very scientific way of improving the quality of the mind.